Hi, I'm Garrett Greeby. Coming up tonight, I'll take a trip to a local favorite that's been producing some of Wisconsin's finest spirits. Pour yourself a drink and join me for Milwaukee Distilled. We all know Milwaukee has an amazing history when it comes to beer. Miller, Pabst, you don't get a nickname like Brew City for nothing, am I right? But if you're anything like me, sometimes you're looking for a more refined drink to relax with. That's why I'm headed down to Great Lakes Distillery to check out how the award-winning Rehorst brand of spirits has come to life. Hi, we're here at Great Lakes Distillery. This is Ross, our tour guide. We're going to start the tour off here. We just want to, Ross, why don't you tell us a little bit about the tour?
Well, we do tours pretty much every day here, 3-4 times a day. We had more on the weekends. It usually starts right down here in the distillery. Basically, the tour is all about 20-25 minutes walking around, and we usually put a tasting on the back end. We'll just do the walk around today, though.
Tasty.
Yeah. We usually start right here, though. We talk a little bit about how we got started and how we are as a distillery. We actually are the first in the state of Wisconsin since around 1920, because in 1920, this thing called Prohibition started. So Prohibition started, all the distilleries closed, stayed that way for actually about 13 years. It was until December 5th, 1933, when Prohibition ended. Since then, no one really opened a distillery in Wisconsin until our owner, Guy Rehorst, in 2004, saw the breweries in the state and said, why not distillery?
Right.
And going from there, it was just an uphill battle, because just because Prohibition ended doesn't mean there wasn't all these old archaic laws on the books.
I bet.
So yeah, it was a 2-year struggle between 2004 and 2006 where the state was figuring out the rules, the laws, the taxes, things like that. But we opened up and put our first bottle out in 2006.
Wow, that's exciting. Well, we're going to take a little bit more of the tour. We're going to go over by the stills right now, and we'll see you over there. So Russ, where are we right now?
Well, we're over by the still. This is where the main portion of the tour happens. We talk a lot about the still, how it works, what we do in it, things like that. People are pretty surprised that pretty much all our products come through this one still. Our brandies, our whiskeys, our gin, vodka, it all comes right through this still here.
A lot of different products.
Yeah.
So the process of distilling actually, you know, everything from gin, vodka to, you know, you got your bourbons, you got your ryes. What differentiates between the two?
Well,
between all
that's
of
a good question. In spirits, well, let's start with fermentation.
Okay.
Fermentation is where alcohol begins. Yeast eats sugar and turns it into alcohol. That's your very first basic step.
Okay.
Within spirits, what sugar you're fermenting determines what you're making. If you're fermenting and distilling sugar from grain, you're making whiskey.
Okay.
If you're fermenting sugar from fruit, you're making brandy. If you're fermenting sugar from the agave plant and you're in Mexico, you're making tequila. If you're fermenting sugar cane or a derivative like molasses, you're making rum. And that's all happening in the fermenters, which we have over here. Now, it's going to take anywhere between 3 to 4 days. We'll fill up our fermenters with whatever our sugar source is. In the case of vodka, we'll fill it up with wheat, then we'll add water, and then we'll add yeast. Yeast will eat all that sugar. 3 or 4 days later, we're up to about 7 or 8% alcohol by volume. Essentially, we made a really crude beer. Okay. And at that point, we'll take that crude beer and distill it. In the case of vodka, though, what makes vodka unique is it needs to get up to 190 proof off that still. If it was below 190, we'd call it something else. But once we get to that purity in the still, we can call it vodka. And the cool thing about vodka, you can make it out of whatever you want. Most American vodkas will be corn, because corn's cheap, it's plentiful. We use wheat because we think wheat tastes better. South America might use sugarcane because it's prevalent there. A lot of people think potatoes are still the standard. It's not true. Okay. Potatoes are actually rather inefficient. 1,000 pounds of wheat gets you a lot more alcohol than 1,000 pounds of potatoes. There's
all about the money, folks.
Exactly. That's kind of the way it was. Many years ago, hundreds of years ago, when potatoes were the dominant crop wherever you were.
Plentiful.
That's what they used. But now the dominant plentiful crop is corn. Okay. So corn is used more. But we do like wheat. We use a winter wheat. Pretty nice. We just like the flavor associated with wheat, so that's why we went with wheat.
was at a family party last night. Had a glass of Grey Goose on the rocks, and something about on the bottle about being distilled 5 times, 6 times. I didn't know the differentiate between the two. How does that all work?
Well, actually, in vodka, that's a fallacy. That is just marketing. You cannot really quantify. The way distillation works is after the fermenters, we take everything from the fermenters and throw it in our still. It all begins over in the kettle. In that kettle, we're heating it up, and that's the way to separate out alcohol. Everything in that mash has a different boiling point.
Big process.
So once we hit 140 degrees, certain things start evaporating. Once we get into the 170s, ethanol starts evaporating. And ethanol is what we drink. Ethanol is what we call alcohol. It's what we want.
Right.
To get that ethanol, we heat it up, we get vapors coming up, and then we condense those vapors on copper plates for vodka.
Okay.
Our whole middle column is copper plates. So every time alcohol vapor, it's a copper plate, it condenses into a liquid. Every evaporation, every condensation is a distillation. In the case, in that copper, or in the column in the middle, when it drops down, it goes back to the kettle, where it evaporates again, then it condenses again, and it goes back to the kettle, and it evaporates and condenses. So it's happening hundreds and thousands of times, and it needs to happen because when alcohol vapor condenses on copper, it's chemically altered. Sulfurs are removed from it, so it tastes more neutral, which is what vodka is.
Okay.
Vodka being such a neutral spirit, to market it, you really need to say triple distilled.
You need to have your own little brand.
We use diamonds to filter it, which is also
not true.
Diamonds don't filter anything. Or you put it in a skull-shaped bottle or a gun-shaped bottle or things like that.
Everybody has their own little niche of the market.
Right, and vodka is very marketing-driven because it's such a neutral spirit.
Right.
We use a local grain source. We use wheat. We think it's pretty tasty. Now, when it comes to something though like whiskey and rum,
right,
that is driven by the flavor. And that's achieved by not using a column.
Okay.
So you can quantify distillations with whiskey and rum. For example, Irish whiskeys are predominantly triple distilled.
Okay.
So 3 times in the still, 3 times out. And that makes it a lighter, more neutral whiskey, easier to drink, as opposed to most scotches, which are double distilled.
Okay.
So whiskey and rum, you can quantify. Vodka, everything's going through a column. Literally thousands of distillations, so there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's just marketing, but it does work.
It does, you know. People make the money.
People make a lot of money in advertising.
Yeah,
so.
right. We make a special flavor here at Great Lakes Distillery, a lemon honey liquor.
We have our citrus and honey vodka. It is a flavored vodka, but it's very different than most on the market.
Okay.
3 main reasons. First, we're using real citrus and real honey.
Okay.
We use the zest and juice from 150 lemons. We soak that in essentially pure ethanol, a neutral spirit. Then we take a couple gallons of Wisconsin Natural Acres honey. We let that soak in a neutral spirit. We distill both of them separately, then blend them together to give you citrus and honey vodka.
Okay. So all this stuff is actually coming from Wisconsin.
The lemons are not. Okay. The honey is, but the lemons are not.
Which Wisconsin is very famous for.
Right. So yeah, it's actually Wisconsin Natural Acres honey. It's out of Chilton. We have it for sale up in our gift shop. Most of what we use, we also sell, and we support the local companies as well. So the beauty, in addition to using the real ingredients, for example, there's no cake in cake vodka.
Right.
There isn't any bubblegum in bubblegum vodka. And I'm pretty sure they are not fermenting peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
So how are they getting those flavors?
I don't know.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of a secret that might not marketing secret, like you were talking about in the earlier segment.
I know there's lemons and honey in ours, so I like ours.
Right.
Also, many flavored vodkas are full of sugar. Ours has no added sugar, and because the honey, it goes through the still, the sugar does not distill. So you get flavor from honey without the sugar. So our citrus and honey vodka will have the same caloric amount as a regular vodka, whereas a lot of flavored vodkas have up to 2 or 3, even 4 grams of sugar per ounce in them.
Yeah, that's a lot of sugar.
That, and we keep our flavored vodka at 80 proof because it tastes better at 80 proof.
Okay.
Most flavored vodkas are 70 proof or less.
Okay. Alrighty, when we're talking about vodkas, I hear also that gin kind of vodka is you're very popular for it here. Rehorst gin in Milwaukee is probably one of the most popular gins in the area.
Absolutely. Well, people don't usually know that, but gin is flavored vodka. Surprise! You can fool so many people by saying, "Hey, try this new flavored vodka. It's juniper flavored," which is what gin is. When you put a juniper berry in a neutral spirit, you can call it gin. And after that, the sky's the limit. Our gin, we start with juniper, but we use an Italian juniper, which is lighter. We're not making a London Dry gin. London Dry is a very strong juniper-forward gin. That's what most people associate with. We're making a different style. It's lighter. We don't want to focus as much on the juniper, so we use a lighter species of juniper. After the juniper, we put in orange peel, lemon peel, cardamom, coriander, Saigon cassia, green anise, sweet basil, and Wisconsin ginseng. So we want ingredients, and we want them all to work together beautifully. You can really pick out the cardamom and sweet basil.
Now, we're going to go back by how we actually get it in bottles or in barrels. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I can take you over and show you the barrels, but we can't get too close. There's there's some regulations I'm going to have to tell you about.
Okay. So Ross, we're here at a rather large gate here. Why is it that you have this enormous gate in your shop?
Well, this is part of the government regulations. The government doesn't want you anywhere back by all that liquor, the barrels, the bottles, because we haven't paid our taxes on it yet. Okay. We pay about $3 a bottle to the government before it leaves this room. As soon as it comes out of this gate, we give them $3. Okay. So they don't want you anywhere near it. If this gate or if this fence was any lower, there'd have to be razor wire on top of it. So
pretty intense.
Yeah, it's a money protection for the government device.
I gotcha, and I think we all kind of know how that works. Yep. We have some barrels behind us. See, you got this little plank in your hands right here. Love whiskey. Completely am interested in how, why you're barreling this as opposed to just straight putting in a bottle, slap it on the shelves for us to buy it.
Well, first off, everything comes off the still completely colorless, completely clear.
Okay.
So, if your bottle has any color to it, one of a few things has happened. You can artificially color a product, like there's a lot of really bright green or bright blue vodkas out there. That's not natural. Second thing you can do is infusion. Our absinthe is actually green because we put green herbs and spices in it post-distillation. We soak lemon balm and hyssop, chlorophyll is leached right out. Okay. But the main one, the big one, barreling, makes things brown. This is the inside of a barrel.
It looks brown.
It's been charred. Somewhere in the course of human history, we figured out if you char the inside of an oak barrel, you caramelize all the natural sugar in there. The sap, just like pancake syrup is tree sap, there's a lot of sap in oak, and it's delicious. When you char it, it caramelizes. So you get caramel flavors, toffee flavors, cinnamon flavors, and the big one is vanilla. There's a ton of vanilla flavor in oak.
You wouldn't think that.
No, but actually, if you go buy imitation vanilla extract, there's a good chance it came from oak because oak is so much cheaper than a vanilla bean.
Right.
So these barrels have these wonderful flavors in them. And once you fill that barrel with something like bourbon, the bourbon picks up those flavors by expanding in and out of the wood. It's driven by the weather. On a hot day, bourbon expands into the wood. Cold day, it contracts out. Low pressure sucks it into the wood. High pressure pushes it back out. So the change in the season over the course of many years drives barrel aging. And that's why bourbon gets all its delicious flavor from expanding in and out of the wood over the course of 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
We have a little packaging and distribution place over here.
We bottle everything right here in-house. It's a very small setup. 4 bottles at a time fill up. We put in a cork by hand. We wrap a label on by hand. We heat seal it by hand, put it in a box. Down the conveyor it goes, all done by hand.
As opposed to a big, spirits corporation that has
thousands of bottles a minute flying by, which we're a little jealous, but hey, this is as handcrafted as you get. So
the love is in the bottle.
Yeah, well, not every bottle.
Ross, I see we've been around the plant. You've showed us everything that Great Lakes has to offer. I am actually building up a little bit of a thirst right now. I want to come around and kind of taste some of these products.
Okay, well, we'll send you off, get some tasting done. Thank you for coming.
Great, thanks a lot,
Glad
Ross.
you enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
Well, that thirst hasn't gone anywhere yet. Thankfully, Ross is here tonight to lead us through a little tasting. So how's it going, Ross?
Good. It's good to be back. Got a little haircut. So.
Yeah, it looks like that. So tell us a little how you got the job at Great Lakes and how you're so lucky to get there.
When I turned 21, I didn't want to just drink this beer because my dad drank that beer. I wanted to try it. So when I turned 21, I tried 100 120 different beers my first year being 21 just to learn it. And then the same with bourbon or whiskey or vodka. I wanted to try everything, and I was lucky enough to retain that knowledge and transfer it into being able to teach others about it and how to really appreciate all of the kind of spirits there are out there.
Great. Now, I am dying to try the vodka.
Okay. We are going to start with the vodka. We'll take you through 4 things here. We're going to use a Glencairn glass as well. Glencairn glasses are going to work well with spirits because of the shape. The tulip shape concentrates aromas, so the better you can smell something, the better you can taste it. So that's why we're going to do the Glencairns. And when we're tasting here, you can hold it up to your nose and breathe in through your mouth. You don't want to burn out your sinuses. This isn't wine tasting. You don't want to swirl it too much. That'll aerate it. So just up the nose and kind of breathe in through your mouth. And we will start with the vodka.
Okay.
A vodka is a good place to start. It'll acclimate your palate to spirits. It'll get you prepped for the more flavorful spirits. Because we talked about vodka being a neutral spirit. So it's rather neutral. It's a good place to start.
Okay. Is there any special way to pour this? Or I know you kind of touched on it a little bit about, smelling and breathing in through the mouth.
I probably should have brought a speed pour or a measuring cup, but we're going to go freehand here.
Alrighty.
So also, you might notice, people at home, have a dump bucket. So anything we don't want to finish, we can get rid of. We're not going to be pressured into finishing anything. It'll be something we need to do. And we're going to rinse after the gin. But
okay.
I'll remind you that when we get there.
Alrighty.
So the vodka, I mentioned it's made from wheat. We like the mouthfeel of the wheat. It's just what we feel is the best grain for vodka. So basically, hold up your nose. Breathe in through your mouth. You'll get a little bit of the aromas. There won't be a lot there because it's vodka, but you can definitely pick up on it. And then just sip on it. Not a shot.
Yeah, it does smell, kind of tastes a little potent, but.
So most people have never even drank room temperature vodka. So they don't even know what there is to offer. Something like this will have a nice creamy mouthfeel, and that's the wheat. That's also that we distill on the grain.
Okay.
We don't, after the fermenter, we dump everything into the still and just distill it. We don't strain it out. We don't do this or that. So you get more rich flavor. Even though it's a neutral spirit, the government just says it should be devoid of distinct character.
Okay.
And compared to anything else we're going to try, it is a neutral spirit.
Speaking about anything else, how does this Rehorst vodka differentiate, between, let's say, a Smirnoff or a Kettle One? Or for that
well, the biggest thing is the grain. It is wheat. A lot of good wheat vodkas are out there. At least for me, if I'm drinking it straight like this, I can differentiate between wheat, potato, corn, and whatnot, which is fine if you're the martini drinker, but if you're mixing with tonic, the base grain is less important because tonic is such an overpowering flavor. But for just sipping on and maybe put a little rocks in there, wheat is my go-to vodka.
Yeah, it definitely does. I still have to drive tonight, so I'm not going to get too rambunctious.
Not a problem here.
Dump that in there.
Well, that's fine.
Hate to dump your gray booze here, but
that is okay. So next up will be the gin.
Alrighty. Now, what are we specially tasting in the gin?
Well, gin, it's actually flavored vodka.
Okay.
Juniper flavored vodka. Juniper will be front and center on pretty much every gin out there. We also use 8 other botanicals. We use orange peel, lemon peel, cardamom, coriander, sweet basil, Wisconsin ginseng, Saigon cassia, and green anise.
That could be a tongue twister.
Yeah. So those 8 we all put together. And this not being a London Dry, we want those other botanicals to do a lot of the work. This one is particularly aromatic, especially at room temperature. So you should be able to pick up a lot of those aromas.
Take a little bit of water first to
Absolutely.
cleanse it even more.
Normally I would advise a neutral, a pretzel or cracker, but eating pretzels does not make for good television. So we're just gonna same thing, a lot of flavor on the nose.
Oh yeah, you can definitely taste, smell the juniper coming out.
Juniper, sweet basil.
Definitely.
I get a lot of the cardamom and a lot of the citrus on the end too.
I can taste the hint of citrus at the end.
And there's something you can do. You can buy juniper, smell juniper, drink it. You pick up the juniper more. It's the same way they train wine palates. You get sweet basil, smell sweet basil, drink, and go, oh, that's what the sweet basil is. So.
Okay. Is there any terms that experienced gin drinkers use or anything like that?
The basic terms are the nose, the smell, the palate is the taste, the finish is how it lingers, how it coats the mouth.
That really smells good.
You can really over accentuate as much as you want. You can talk for hours. You can make yourself seem to be the most sophisticated person, but at the end of the day, it's what it tastes like to you.
Okay.
There's 9 botanicals in here. I usually get about 4 main ones. Not the other ones aren't doing the work, but that get the juniper, the sweet basil, the cardamom, and the citrus. Everything else is there. It's doing its work, but it might not be most apparent to me, whereas others might pick up on it more.
Okay. Gotcha. Really like the gin. I think that's probably one of your most popular items too.
Definitely.
From what I hear from people around town. I do also see the whiskey here.
Yep.
Now I am preferably a whiskey drinker.
Side note: we are going to rinse our glass after the gin. A lot of those botanical oils coat the glasses, so we're going to rinse these away. So it's just a simple rinse. We don't want juniper flavored whiskey.
Yeah, that would be maybe a new flavor you guys could try.
So whiskey will be next. Now, whiskey takes a long time to make. Whiskey needs to sit in a barrel. It needs to mellow. It needs to get flavor. It needs to oxidize. Typically, you're looking at a whiskey, you want it to be 4, 5, 6, 7 years old.
Okay.
Young distilleries can't do that. They can't magically pull 4-year-old whiskey out of the air.
Right.
So our solution to the problem is to buy a whiskey that's already been aged by 4 years. A big producer made it.
Okay.
We bought it and enhanced it. So you will notice that you're going to get some of the bourbon flavor, but we've added our own single malt and we've added our own rye to it. So it's just a blend.
Okay.
That's why it's called Kinnickinnic. In Ojibwa, Kinnickinnic means what is blended. That's also why the river in town is called Kinnickinnic.
Interesting.
It's a blend of waterways. Now, the thing to know about this whiskey is it's 100% whiskey. The term blend in America only promises you that 20% of the bottle is straight whiskey. You can legally put up to 80% neutral grain spirit in your blended whiskey. It will be on the label. It'll be very tiny. It'll say 75% grain neutral spirits, grain spirits, things like that.
Okay.
But this is 100% whiskey. So you're going to get the big whiskey nose.
Yeah, I love that.
It's not going to be a light drinker. It's going to be a big, you get a lot of the sweetness from the bourbon. And
You're looking for a cocktail, this is what you're going to pull out.
yeah, definitely. It'll stand up very well in cocktail. It's a very nice, all those flavors we talked about in the barrel. There's
Very
vanilla.
smooth.
The malt element is kind of the smoothness. Barley adds a lot of that smooth. Rye is a spice here.
Okay.
We're using a little less than that. But if you go get a rye whiskey, you're going to have a big,
Definitely different.
spicy slice of rye bread in your mouth. Whereas
Yeah.
this, it's more for everyone. The malt element really kind of
Right, this kind of
mellows it
blends
up.
kind of almost, there's tons of different kind of whiskeys. This kind of not blends them all together and puts them into one, but this is a very good, subtle whiskey.
It kind of is. It's a hybrid. It's a little bit of what you like from bourbon. It's a little bit of what you can like from rye. It's a little bit of what you can like from malt. It does a lot of different things, and something we're really proud of for being able to do it.
For a smaller company.
Yeah,
And
we do
I hear batch, I'm sorry to interrupt, batch, what kind of batch is this? First, second?
It's an ever continuing, probably on 4th or 5th batch.
Okay.
And, the whiskey we buy changes, so we adjust our recipe to match that.
Cool.
We will have our own 100% whiskey out this springtime, though. It'll be a straight rye. So feel free to dump, because we're going to jump over to rum.
Ooh.
Rum is an interesting spirit. We're going to give it a little rinse, too. Rum's very interesting. Rum's made in more different countries than any other spirit, and it's not a very regulated spirit. Country to country, it can change greatly. So it changes. So you get different kinds of rum. Silver rums are very light, easy drinking. You don't really sip on silver rum. You mix with it.
Yeah.
There's spiced rums where they put spices in it. There's flavored rums of all sorts of different kinds. And then there's dark rums, which is just a little molasses added. But this here is kind of a hybrid between a golden and a flavored. It's flavored because we added Wisconsin maple syrup.
Okay.
But it's golden because the color and sweetness is coming from the barrel.
A little hint of Wisconsin in there.
Little hint of Wisconsin. Anderson's maple syrup, they're out of Cumberland, Wisconsin. So ferment and distill molasses, add Wisconsin maple syrup, distill it again, put it in a barrel. 4 or 5 months later, this comes out. It's very nice. It's a golden rum, but it has that just little hint of maple in there.
You can definitely smell the maple.
That just
not overpowering though by any
just
stretch.
that little something different that makes it different than other rums, and it's quite nice. Really makes a really good classic daiquiri.
Okay.
And, don't be fooled into thinking daiquiris are big, red, slushy messes. A daiquiri has 3 ingredients: rum, simple syrup, lime juice, and this works beautifully in there.
With it. Ladies, remember that.
Another fun fact that I could go on for an hour about Roaring Dan Seavey. It's named after a pirate, the only pirate in Great Lakes history.
Saw a little on the bottle.
That all these kids can look up at home, because Roaring Dan was quite the
guy here.
He's the only pirate on Lake Michigan, and he's worthy to have a rum named after him.
To Roaring Dan.
To Roaring Dan.
Well, Dan, you have a very sophisticated taste. So, well, folks, we're fresh out of time. Thank you, Ross, for sharing a little wisdom with us today, and thank you for watching at home. Please remember, do not drink and drive. Good night.